Alright, let's go ahead and we'll tackle this belt around the waist and this one here. Okay, we've kind of neglected this little guy here a lot for a long while here, but actually he is probably one of the better made belts, or actually probably the best made belt we've done so far. So if your belt's a little bit misaligned here, just go ahead and take some time to basically go and put him back to, well, trying to be as consistent as you can, essentially. Okay, so for this belt here, to be honest with you, I'm not really too fussed, I guess it would be the correct way to phrase that, about how this belt kind of formulates. This is just kind of a special belt I wanted to sort of do, just this kind of stylized sort of belt here underneath here. It's not really something I have spent too much time thinking about. I do like this extra ended part here, but to tell you the truth, I'm quite happy with just the general style of it all. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to add too much extra stuff to this. Okay, in terms of where this belt's going to kind of fit and sort of sit and all that, I'm basically going to have the layer split here. So this is the kind of part that's gone all the way around and wrapped itself around here again. Now you could, if you'd like, go ahead and, you know, draw the belt again, but actually all I'm going to do to hide this seam here is just put one of these little kind of a loop, I guess, down here, essentially. Okay, then I'm going to do one probably around here as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do that straight away. So I'll go ahead and duplicate this part, and we'll get the little gizmo out, and we'll move him down into position and rotate him round. Okay, and okay, we could probably keep the same width overall, maybe just a little bit smaller. Okay, and as you can see there, it's quite alright just to leave it there like that. That's quite nice because, I mean, this type of belt here, I figure she's very much favoriting, what can we say, I think she likes her equipment, is a safe thing to say. So if she's got more kind of areas to hang things off of and whatnot, I think she genuinely kind of appreciates that. So I'm going to copy it again, and I'm just going to bring it over here, and this is more sort of to tie in the end of the belt down here, essentially. Actually, wait, no, what am I saying? That's not right. I don't need that there, because the belt is just going to kind of end here, essentially. It's just going to clip into a hole there, and it will be fine and good to go. Okay, having that being there actually looks quite nice, because it's a way to sort of interrupt the just a generic strap belt going all the way across. Okay, fabulous. So let's actually go ahead and tackle this belt now. It's quite low poly, and I believe, yes, it's got no subdivision level, so we need to go ahead and fix that. But before we do that, I am going to commit to the fact that this is going to be quite a sharp edge here. So I need to use my move tool, and I am using the move topological tool this time, just to basically kind of bring this over. I'm just going to make it kind of stylized, but kind of a fancy looking belt. Something like that. Okay, just to stop it from just being a simple belt that goes all the way around and it doesn't really do anything else. I want at least one belt to be a bit out of the ordinary. Okay, and I think what I'll do is I will try to let's just really exaggerate this particular corner here, because I do want Z-Remesh to see that, and we do need to Z-Remesh it again. So we could try a couple of settings here. We could say, I don't think there's any creases. Oh, there are creases. Good. Okay, so we'll keep creases, and let's just Z-Remesh and see what we get. Okay, that's a fine result. I was thinking it was going to smooth this part here, but it hasn't actually done that. Let's just go back and we'll do detect edges, and we'll Z-Remesh again, and yeah, okay, that's fine. So both ways work. So that's actually quite encouraging. That's worked out quite nicely. Okay, so let's see if we divide that, and okay, we're dividing it now. The edges, okay, they can get quite soft. That's not too bad, but let's just undo that, and we'll go to creases, and let's just see what an uncrease does, or maybe uncrease all. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's done a good job, and we'll subdivide it. What has that done? I think if we now crease it and divide it again, no, I think I liked the initial one before when it was already creased. Let's go back, we'll crease it, and we'll just divide it from here. Yes, it's a little bit stiff, but let's bring our smooth brush down to 50% intensity. And just a rather large brush will just go around smoothing some of the edges there, just so we don't get that complete crisp edge. You know, we've done this before multiple times already, so you know what I'm trying to achieve here. Okay, that goes for this little edge as well, because as sharp as it is, it shouldn't actually be super sharp. It should be leather sharp. Okay, so leather sharp at the end of the day in comparison to something like metal obviously is going to be a lot blunter, a lot more blunt than what a metal edge would be. Okay. Okay, just small. We're just going to kind of squeeze that in either way. Okay, fabulous. Right, so let's take a trim dynamic brush. We'll just make sure everything here is flat. It's not too bulbousy. It's not bulging up or anything like that. Okay, that looks okay. No problems. Subdivide it again, and yeah, we can sort of see that turning out quite nicely. That's starting to look like an actual belt now. Okay, now I thought it might be a cool idea actually to have like this side here, just gonna mask this area off, just have a little bit of a pattern, just something to break up the monotony of the simple belt. And I think I'll actually reflect that on this side too here. So here, where the belt's gonna sort of break into a separate layer, maybe around there somewhat. Let's see if that's even from the back, maybe a bit more trimmed over here. You'll see what I'm going to do in a minute. I thought about sort of creating vertical lines like, you know, kind of score marks down there, just for a bit of flair essentially. So I think the best way to do this is probably to use the rake tool if it can stay consistent. I'm just going to bring the intensity down a bit and just try it out. And yeah, that's not too bad, but I do need a higher subdivision level, so I'm going to bump that up possibly twice and just test that out. And yeah, that's not too bad. I quite like the look of that. So okay, let's go ahead and we'll just mask that. We'll see what local symmetry does for us. Put on local symmetry and see if we can mask off pretty much the same points at either side for the belt here. Just a bit more. There we go. And let's flip it around. Yes, that looks fairly even. Okay, we'll flip the mask around and we'll just do some raking down here. So let's get it low intensity. I don't want it too much. And I just want to do some. Just again, it's just a bit of a pattern. Although I don't like how inconsistent it is. I think I don't really like the variance in how light it can be, so we're gonna have to probably do this quite confidently. Just strokes starting from the top. There we go. It can be quite a challenge, it seems, to get it right. There we go. And I think yeah, this side is not looking too good, so let's undo that. That's unfortunate. I think maybe a good way to do it. Let's do it a different way. Let's use our standard brush and we'll change dots to a drag rectangle, and we'll use this alpha instead. And by doing that, oh, that's not good. I don't like that. Okay, let's do freehand, and yeah, that looks a bit better because it's just a bit more consistent, essentially. So okay, let's do it this side here. We'll just do 1, 2. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that might have been a good idea, but now that I've done it, I don't think I like it. Okay, never mind. Let's undo it. Sorry, guys. We'll just leave it like that. But what we will do now, let's go ahead and delete all that extra subdivision level we did there. I mean, you can see how I've done it. If you like it, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But for me, I'm just going to leave it standard now. So I'm just going to go around and did what we've done with the other belts here, and just essentially just go once round, low intensity, just kind of building up that ridge on the outside. Oh, that's still quite strong. Okay, let's go. That's too weak. There we go. Just go around again, and we'll get the trim dynamic brush out shortly after, just to kind of sort all this out. Now for this part here, this is going to be a separate area, so I'm going to have to bring that down there and make it clear that there's a distinction there. Okay. Let's go all the way around. All the way around. So just try and keep close to the edge. You know the drill by now. Okay, and then do the same for the bottom. There we go, nearly there. And let's see, on the bottom here. Oh, ZBrush. There we go. I don't think ZBrush likes it when I'm using OBS at the same time. Okay, right. So, let's bring our trim dynamic brush out. We'll get a roughly good size, perhaps in the 40s-ish. Let's just start to trim some of this down. Okay, particularly here. This edge, the edges, the sides here are quite important to get this down right. Okay. And then now we've got to do the same here. But it's going to get a bit trickier because we're going to go into a finer point here. So we have to bring our brush size down a bit just to get in this corner here. And now we can smooth it out. Okay, time to make that artificial sort of hill again, and we've done this before, so you know what to do now. We'll just go ahead and we'll grab a damn standard brush. I think we actually don't need to do such a big layer change here. It's a good way of faking it because you've got this extra length here. Okay, oh, hello start menu. So what we're going to do is we'll just mask off this area here. My start key is very close to the alt key, so every now and then I will eventually end up pressing the Windows key. I've actually got a Windows lock, but I never use it, silly me. Okay, so there we go. Right, so actually I think that might be a little bit, I think it's too low, subdivision level. It's only 50k active points. Let's bring it up a little bit to at least 100. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Okay, so with this here, just to kind of safeguard, actually let's safeguard the rest of it, or a good portion of it, just so that we're not digging into any other part of the mesh by accident, because the damn standard brush can get away from itself. We're just going to score a line in there. It always does this. Just be a bit careful around the edge there. Okay. If you have this issue, you can just sort of move it back up like that, okay, using the move brush. And what we'll do is we'll flip the mask now, and let's use our trusty clay build-up brush, and we'll just do a few strokes there, essentially. Okay, just to sort of, actually let's do it on a lower subdivision level, and we'll just pass it back a little bit, and that's just going to help build that artificial height. Yeah. Now I know this is something that, hey, you could Z-remesh it for and everything like that, but at the end of the day, it's not too critical a part of the it's not too critical part of the mesh or anything like that. It's just a component of the rest of the character, so I'm not going to really bother too much or lose too much sleep about the topology here, especially the high poly, because we're not going to be adding too much detail here, and we will be baking it down anyway, so don't lose too much sleep over the fact that the topology isn't perfect. We are just going to end up baking this anyhow. Right, let's mask that area off, and we'll just do our best to sort of pinch this in just so it looks a bit more, well, a bit filled out like that. Okay. And if you want, of course, you can always mask that area off. And you can artificially, I say artificially, but we're actually going to, just be careful, just move that out just slightly. Just remember, you got to take everything with it, so just try and pull. You can even actually overlap it like that. And there we go. Okay, it's a good quick way of creating that kind of belt overlap without dealing with all the different sort of layers. Just got to tidy up that edge a little bit. Let's go down a subdivision level, trim dynamic that. Oops. Okay, smooth that out. Okay, so this part here is looking a little bit thin. I just might want to inflate this area a little bit. There we go, just so it has a similar thickness. And you can see here the trim dynamic brush has had some effect, but not quite a clean effect. So it's just good to get multiple angles on this and just try and clean this up as best you can. Okay, and we'll just smooth that out. But again, it's leather, so it's not going to be perfect. You don't have to make it perfect. In fact, this is kind of what you want, really. You do want something like that. If we see we've got, of course, we've got the clipping here, and we're always going to get clipping as we're working on different components in solo mode, so don't worry about that too much. We're just going to take our move tools now, and it's up to you what part you prioritize, but I think it might be easier in this case to pull the belt out there, and here just to pull the vest out a little bit. Just make sure that when you're doing big moves like this, you do them at the slowest subdivision level, just so it's easier and a bit cleaner. Okay, there you go. There's not really much to add to that belt. The only thing we have to do now is kind of invent a buckle for it. And I say invent, but really it's not too big a deal. All we're going to do is we could... Oh, that's a new brush. Cloth inflate. Oh, I wonder if we can use the inverse of that for holes in the belt here. Should we give it a go? Yeah, it kind of works, but it does this weird thing. That's not good. I don't want that. Okay, so what we'll do, we have to do this manually. So let's decide on how many kind of notches in this belt we want. I think maybe I will do 1, and maybe 2, and maybe 3. Like that, perhaps a 4th. I'm not entirely sure. Something like that. I think 3 is probably better actually. And I'll just make them a bit bigger. Because this is quite a, I want this to be quite a hefty belt. Okay, it does have to hold her equipment up, so it's got to be a pretty hefty belt. And let's invert that, and I think we'll just use the good old standard brush. And we'll just use the inverse function, just kind of pop some holes in, like that. Okay. Now obviously this is depending upon the subdivision level you have it at. Mine's pretty high, 775k. But if you just smooth it out, that's quite okay like that. I'm quite happy with that kind of feature there as it is. Now the other thing we've got to do, we could actually be quite sneaky. We could duplicate the way. I'm going to do it this way. I need a belt buckle now, but I don't need the fancy one. So I'm going to duplicate this and bring it down to the lowest subdivision level. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to go and find the IMM Clothing Hard Brush. Pick the belt buckle we've always been using. Draw it out. I don't know why it disappeared there. That's a bit annoying. And maybe it's on dynamic. No? That's strange. Okay, so there I'm just going to draw... Never mind. Just going to draw that out. That's about roughly the right size. It doesn't matter anyway, because for this particular part here, I'm just going to isolate the belt buckle and delete the rest, just like we've usually done. Delete hidden, that's fine. We'll bring back the actual belt. Oh, it's being hidden by the vest now, so we'll have to hide the vest. Oh, what's going on here? No, I don't want to do anything, that's fine. I just want... Hang on. Then, oh, okay, is that brush? I must have accidentally clicked somewhere. That's okay. Hopefully it didn't break the whole program or corrupted any more files, but essentially I'm just going to be very sneaky here. I don't want the outside bit, I just want the middle bit there. So I'm going to go to polygroup. It's going to ask it to auto group, and you can see there it's basically isolated this middle rod, and that's all I want. So I'm just going to delete the rest of the mesh and then get my little gizmo here. Just angle it, put it in the right place. Let's bring it up there, something like that. I'm just gonna rotate it just so I've got this bit here sticking out, because that's all I wanted, and that's fine. We are allowed to use these IMM brushes the way we see fit. That's what they're there for. It doesn't matter if we delete 90% of the actual mesh, we still use the portion of it. Therefore, it's fair. And there you go, something like that. I think that's probably how it would look, right? Yeah, I think so. Maybe a bit more like that. something like that, something like that. And ZBrush is doing the life-saving thing, so I'll let it do its thing. Okay, I'll kind of call the video there then, guys. Okay, so we've just gone ahead and finished off that belt there. That's a good progress so far. The other thing I want to do now, and don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the hat. The hat is something that we'll do after we finish the head likeness. I think we will take a break from the clothing, and once we kind of finish the rest of the kind of clothes here, we'll kind of call that a day, and then we'll do the likeness, and then we'll do the hat. Okay, so don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the whole kind of what I like to call the cavalier hat, basically. So no, I haven't forgotten about that. But I think it's nice to take a break from this. We'll go and do the facial likeness after the clothes. Okay, so what have we got to do next? We've got to do the cravat. I think the cravat is a good thing to move on to now, and then we'll kind of come back and we'll do a fine detail pass over all of this. So what I mean by fine detail is we're going to look at putting in seam lines on the shirt and trousers and other areas as well that we haven't really looked at just yet. We're going to add some very light folds to these straps just to stop them looking a little bit bland. We're going to add some more folds perhaps to the shoulder guard up here just to give that the correct material property. Okay, and then obviously we're going to have to tackle the fact that these folds here, like I mentioned before, they're just mirrored across, so we're going to have to make them look a little bit different as well, and then we'll take it to the next stage. We also have to give some belt buckles up here as well. I forgot about that. Okay, so a little bit more work on the straps, but we'll go ahead and turn our attention to the cravat now, because the cravat is the only part of the mesh now that's kind of lacking the detail that everywhere else has right now. So it's only right we address that in the next video and bring that up to scratch as well, along with everything else.